Hi everybody, welcome to the Present Institute for Creative Zionism. My name is Adam, and tonight we have the pleasure of hearing from Mel Alexenberg. Mel Alexenberg he has a number of interests that he already started expounding upon. For those of you who are here and just talking informally, I think you got a preview of his talk and some of his interests. For those of you who are not, briefly, Mel's interests lie presently in what he labels redefined art, or redefined omanut. And he'll be getting into the distinction between the two. He has a background in biology, which he studied originally, and he moved on to a number of very ambitious, very interesting projects that he's going to elaborate on, and also he's going to explain one of the pieces that he brought with him today. I will not take any more of your time except to try to stall for Ariel who's going to set up the microphone. And without further ado, we're very pleased to present Mel Alexenberg.
Thank you. Well, Ariel had talked about digital culture and Jewish thought, and I had to deal with that. I did a book article that just came out 6 months ago. One of my books. It's called "The Future of Art in the Digital Age: From Hellenistic to Hebraic Consciousness." And the thesis of the book is that that digital culture is Jewish as compared to pre-digital culture, and that the art of the 21st century is Jewish instead of Hellenistic, instead of based on the definition of Greek art. And when I decided to look at this, examine this, I looked at it using several methodologies. I used semiotics, the theory of signs, of how meaning is created, and significance is created. In English, sign and significance is a word. And so I developed a semiotic kind of theory, which I originally set up during the years I was teaching at Columbia University. I was an art professor at Columbia, and had to deal with all the new art movements. And I had written a lot about semiotics as a way to understand that. The other is how does art create meaning? Something which is a discussing sort of context and so on. The other thing I was used was morphologies, and it's the other important part of that is structure and form. As you mentioned, I'm originally a biologist, and so structure and form was a very important part of the work that I did at the time, where I worked with invertebrate zoology. I worked with the ecosystems of land-adapted crustacean, and which was kind of interesting because I worked out closed system ecologies of how these crustacea with gills live on land and survive, and dry, and it led to me being the consultant on the lunar landing module on closed systems ecology for Martin Marietta. So I had this kind of interesting kind of experience. But as a biologist, form and structure was a very, very important part of my way of seeing things. So I applied this form and structure to art, Judaism, science, and technology. But then I said, we sort of are taught that research methodologies are neutral, right? You can use research methodologies in studying all kinds of things. When I was at Columbia, I was really very fortunate because I spent 4 years team teaching the graduate, the doctoral research methods course with Margaret Mead, the anthropologist. And so she and I worked together for 4 years there. And she, and I learned all about, that's where my social science experience had. It was an amazing, amazing experience. And I dealt then with morphologies of culture, structures of cultures, and so on. And but then, I realized that these methodologies are not neutral, And I said, well, let me look at everything from another point, from a methodology that's Jewish. What if I look at art, science, technology, and culture through a Jewish methodology or a Jewish lens, not instead of semiotics or morphology. Let me look at it. So I look at it through halakha and Kabbalah. And so I analyze all these same things that I analyzed with Western kind of European cultures, methodologies, and I use Jewish methodology to look at the same things. It's kind of interesting because and so that's the chapters of this book. It starts off with a semiotic perspective and a morphological perspective, and a halachic perspective, a Kabbalistic perspective, and a halachic perspective. But now that I'm doing a Hebrew version of the book, the publisher said, and this literary editor said, maybe your book is the wrong, you can't translate it. It's too much. It has to be another version, an Israeli version, because I have to assume people don't know certain things about Jewish things in this book, but I don't need to do that with Israelis necessarily. And but also, he said you should start it the other way around. Start it with the Jewish viewpoint and then expand it. So the chapters become complete reverse in the Hebrew version. So I'll talk about one example from a morphological perspective, and I think I think if I always, as an artist and a biologist who dealt with systems and forms and stuff, I look at Judaism. I experience it in a visual way, not through reading, through ears, text. As a kid, it was always a horror for me going to school because I experienced the world in a visual, kinesthetic way, and I don't experience it in a verbal. If you know about how the Gardners work at Harvard on Project Zero, on the multiple intelligences and other people's things on cognitive styles and so on, that you realize that different people learn different ways. And for me, Talmud was always my best subject in school because the books were so big, I could hide paper and make my pictures. And so, but